So, you read the title of this video. This is me giving my thoughts on last year's animation. And I thought I'd do a little change of pace with this video. Like, do something a bit different, you know what I'm saying? And, I hope you guys like it. You guys let me know what you think. Basically, yes. 2022 was a pretty good year for animation. There were a lot of good animation films that came out, but there were also some that didn't kind of do that good. And that's what this video is all about, because, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on what came out last year, and even though I had not seen all of these animated films, okay? I mean, I'm still going to talk about them, so, because I can't be the only one who would talk about an animated film in which I have not yet seen, So, anyways, with all that being said, let's first talk about Pinocchio. Ah, yes, Pinocchio. I gotta say, 2022 was a big year for Pinocchio. In that year, we got three Pinocchio films, one of them being an American dub of Pinocchio, A True Story. And I gotta be honest, and, I could have sworn that I did hear about this movie, and I was thinking, wait a minute, this couldn't have come out this year. I could have sworn I have seen this before, and I found out that, yes, I was right. I have seen this before, but, last year, it was dubbed, American dubbed and so on. And with Pauly Shore as Pinocchio? Seriously? What were they thinking? And this reminds me a lot of Dougal. Yeah, if any of you guys remember that. But yeah, Pinocchio True Story, the American dubbed version, obviously it didn't turn out to be that good. It was a complete disaster. And I'm curious, I'm just wondering if Pinocchio True Story, where it first originated from, if that did pretty good. But again, because I can tell, the American dubbed, it was not that good. And I know that this one is not, an animated film, but I don't think this should be left off. This has to be talked about as well. And that being Disney's live-action version of Pinocchio. And yeah, unfortunately, when this came out, it didn't do that great, But there are those like myself that did enjoy this. But, of course, there are those that just totally trash this. But, it's hard to believe, because, well, when I heard about this, and when Robert Zemeckis was announced to direct this, I was thinking, okay, that's good. Maybe this one can turn out to be pretty good. Besides, Robert Zemeckis, he's no stranger to Disney. He, of course, directed, as we all know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And, of course, there's that motion capture version of Christmas Carol, but still. And, of course, you have Tom Hanks. He's no stranger to Disney. We all know that he's the voice of Woody in the Toy Story franchise. I'm sure as though that they tried their very best with this version, they tried their best to recapture the magic of the animated classic that we all know and love, and I think as though that they did. I think there are some things to like about the live-action Pinocchio film. But still, it's really unfortunate just how it turned out, and to some audiences. And now the third and final Pinocchio film that everybody considers to be the best Pinocchio film since the Disney animated classic one, and that, of course, being Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Yes, and I have not yet seen this, but I will. Yeah, because this turned out to be such an amazing film. For one thing, Guillermo del Toro, it's his movie, and it's in stop motion. I can tell, because the stop motion for this looks amazing and beautiful. Even when the first trailers came out for this, we can already tell that this was going to look fabulous and just outstanding, you know? And, of course, it did. And I look forward to when I finally watch it. I definitely, when I review it, of course. And now, we come to two animated films that I wanted to mention, and that being Hotel Transylvania 4, Transformania, and Luck. Now, starting with Hotel Transylvania 4, what is to be considered the last Hotel Transylvania film in the Hotel Transylvania franchise, I think this was pretty good. I've enjoyed all of the Hotel Transylvania films, and I didn't mind for there being a fourth one. I remember when it was announced, and it release dates for this kind of changed at times. Like, I remember it was going to have a December release, and I was like, are they going to do something Christmassy? But no, that didn't happen. It got pushed up to a little bit earlier. Then, of course, it got pushed back a year later. Like, it was this close to coming to theaters, but then, out of nowhere, it was moving straight to Amazon Prime. Like, wow. Like, they pulled that move. Are you serious? Right as it was about to come out. Oh my gosh. But of course, when it finally came out, it was mixed from what I can tell. But again, I thought it was pretty good. I think that the story, it tried its very best, and the fact that Dracula, he's about to retire, and he's going to give the hotel in the hands of his daughter and son-in-law, but he panics. He's not really ready to do this. And at one point, you know, Johnny, he wants to impress his, you know, father-in-law, Dracula, and with Van Helsing, he gives him a device that turns him into a monster. It works, but also it causes Dracula to turn into a human. And yeah, and also the animation to this, like, yeah, like, they're, like, you can tell as the Hotel Transylvania films, like, you know, as they come out, you notice a change to the animation. Yeah, because when looking back at the first two films, and when you look at, say, the third and fourth film, yeah, you can tell a difference. But for me, I didn't care. I think that it turned out fine with how the animation was. It may not be a great animated film, and for it being a Hotel Transylvania film, but I think there are some things to like about it, and, you know, it does its very best with, you know, some hilarious moments and some emotional moments as well. So Hotel Transylvania 4, I thought was pretty good. And now comes Skydance Animation's first animated feature film, Luck. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody thought this would turn out to be pretty good, and for it being Skydance Animation's first film, and not to mention, you have John Lasseter, you know, being involved in this, and being a part of Skydance Animation, but unfortunately, when it came out, it wasn't that good as we expected. But, I mean, and I have not yet seen this either. But I'm sure, like, yeah, from what I've heard, there are some good things about it. Like, the animation looks very beautiful, and, like, it seems to have a good cast, but I will say this. The animation and the look of the characters, it's almost reminding me of, say, Pixar, don't you think? And, for example, this whole thing of, you know, John Lasseter, he then went on to be a part of Skydance Animation, and you know how as I said, how the animation looks a bit similar to Pixar. This reminds me of the whole thing of Don Bluth, because, to keep it short about Don Bluth, he used to work at Disney, but then, him and a handful of animators at Disney, they all quit their jobs, and they went on to start doing their own animation business, and as we all know, and, like, the rest was animation history. And many people mistaken Don Bluth's films for Disney films. You get my point? Like, that's just, to me, that's eerie. But in closing on Luck, I'm sure for this film, it tried its best to bring us a good story and some emotional and, humorous stuff like any other animated feature film would do. And I would also like to point out that this is the first time that John Ratzenberger is in an animated feature film that's not Pixar. Like, is he also John Lasseter's Lucky Charm? Like, if you get what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that. I'm just very curious. Like, he's Pixar's Lucky Charm. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. And now, let's come to Disney and Disney Plus animation content. Well, first off, Disney's latest animation feature film being Strange World. Disney doing another science fiction adventurous film, and it looked like it was going to be pretty good. Even I thought it would turn out to be pretty good, but unfortunately, no. Sadly, it didn't really do that good, but although I'm sure though there are those that do like this, and I have, again, Strange World I have not yet seen, but I'm sure as though that I would enjoy this too. And another thing is Disney has had a lot of trouble when it comes to doing something science fiction. Like, for example, some of their live-action science fiction films from, say, The Black Hole and Tron, they didn't do that good, but they did grow a cult following. The same thing goes for, in the realm of animation, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Treasure Planet. They didn't do that good, but they grew a cult following as well, and, it took years for Disney to make a sequel to Tron, and they did, with Tron Legacy, and, they soon will make a third Tron film. And with Strange World, gosh, it's really kind of sad. It's like Disney has no luck making a good, like, science fiction film. You get my point? That's really sad. But the animation, first off, the animation to Strange World looks very beautiful, and, I think that this has a pretty good cast to it. From Dennis Quaid, Lucy Liu, just so many great people in this. And, I look forward to when I watch this, on Disney Plus, and until I review it. And speaking of Disney Plus, I'm going to quickly talk about, the two latest pieces of animation that came out on Disney+. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, and Night at the Museum, Ka-Mun-Ra Rises Again. Yeah, I have not seen these two films yet, nor have I seen the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated film, but I know that I'm eventually gonna watch all three, and of course I will review them. I really was not, expecting for the second animated, film of Diary of Wimpy Kid to be that good. And, yeah, just like with the first one, it didn't do that pretty good. And I was surprised for the Night at the Museum animated feature. I remember when this was announced, and I was excited for it. Because I was thinking, maybe, I don't know, hopefully, yeah, we'll get some good animation, and maybe some of the cast from the live-action films will come back, like Owen Wilson, I don't know, maybe Ben Stiller, Hank Azaria, because Hank Azaria, who's a well-known voice actor, he could come back as Ka-Mun-Ra, and maybe, if they wanted to include Teddy, in which they did, they could have gotten a Robin Williams impersonator, and I could think of a few good people who do good Robin Williams impressions, and no, they didn't get anybody for Teddy. They didn't even, what were they thinking? That it would have been really cool if they did. But sadly for this film, it just didn't do that really, it wasn't that great, but I'm sure, though, that obviously there are those that seem to like this, and I'm sure maybe for me, I could like this as well. until I review that and the 2 Diary of a Wimpy Kid films. Now, with Disney and Disney Plus animation content out of the way, let's come to Pixar animation content. And I gotta say, 2022 was a pretty interesting and good year for Pixar, because ever since Turning Red and Lightyear were announced for, that year, people thought at first, including myself, I know that I was probably thinking of the same thing too, that Lightyear was gonna be excellent because it's Buzz Lightyear. Like, this will not be a disappointment. And for Turning Red, well, people didn't know what to make up with it at first. And I know I didn't know what to think of it at first. But when Turning Red, did come out on Disney Plus, this was the 3rd Pixar film to not come out in theaters. When it came out, it actually was surprisingly really good, and I enjoyed it. Me and my good friend, The Amazing Gamer, we reviewed it, and we thought it was excellent. And then, a little bit later that year, in the summer, we finally got Lightyear, and it was mixed. Now, for me personally, and I know I've reviewed this before, I don't think it was that bad. I actually really enjoyed this, and I know my parents enjoyed this too, and I'm sure some of you guys, you thought it was pretty good too. You guys let me know if you enjoyed this as well. Now, it's really unfortunate, because I really thought that this would be pretty good, and I think because the movie tried its best with a story, and the twist with Zurg was pretty interesting, and with Chris Evans, Keke Palmer, and James Brolin, and Taika Waititi, this movie has some pretty good cast in it, and they were pretty good. And of course, some mentionings of Toy Story, obviously. The fact that, Andy saw this movie and he fell in love with Buzz Lightyear. And, Buzz Lightyear saying some lines that the toy Buzz says in the Toy Story films, that's pretty cool. And the fact that, well, it seems like Lightyear has opened the door for possibly a sequel, and I could see that happening. But overall, we'll just have to wait and see, and for Lightyear, it's okay for what it is. It's clearly it's not the best in the Toy Story franchise, but I think, this tried its best, and there are some things to like about it, as I just said. And finally, I saved the best for last. DreamWorks. Yes, 2022 was a big year for DreamWorks, and it basically, some people say that 2022 was DreamWorks' comeback, and I'll say it was. For a while, DreamWorks was doing animated films that weren't disastrous. They were fine, but they weren't that successful. They did Croods 2, they did Boss Baby 2, and they did a sequel to that horse movie, and that really didn't do that good, but But then, in 2022, we got 2 animated films that looked like they were going to be promising, and they were. We got Bad Guys, and then, near the end of 2022, we got Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, first off, with the Bad Guys, I think this was promising too, because unfortunately I missed out seeing this in theaters, but I did watch it on Netflix, and this was pretty good. This was amazing. The animation was fantastic. It brought a really good story to us. Some pretty good characters, a good cast, and with the Bad Guys and with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the animation that DreamWorks does, there was a difference. It's like they changed it up a bit, and yeah. And with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, everybody just can't stop talking about it. And I have yet to see this. I'm going to see in theaters. Now, I remember when a sequel to Puss in Boots was announced. It had been, it had been talked about, it had been in development for years, and, even at one point, it was announced that the director of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, he was going to helm the sequel, but that changed, and we got two directors, and I'm sure as though, and I'm sure others were thinking of this too, like, well, I don't know, like, it would be fine to see a sequel, but, like, who knows how it's gonna turn out, and I'm pretty sure nobody could have imagined how this would turn out, because when it was released, oh my gosh, because it took off, it exploded, it was a success! Oh, and it seemed to surpass the first film, and it seemed to be a lot better than the first film, and yeah, I can tell. And definitely, like, one noticeable thing about this film is its animation, very different to the first Puss in Boots film, and for that, the rest of the Shrek films in the Shrek franchise, and it's like, from what I've heard, like, it's like they not only did CG, but they combined a little bit of, like, say, 2D and, like, it's, like, painted and so on. Like, I was thinking, gosh, this is very similar. This animation style is very similar to that in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And not to mention, as I said, the director of the Spider-Man film was at one point attached to it. So you can tell, I'm very happy to hear that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is just so amazing, and definitely it's going to be one of those animated films to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. And here's another thing about Best Animated Feature. It's hard to tell, who's going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. I could think of, say, well, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That's definitely going to be a Best Animated Feature nomination, and maybe The Bad Guys will be as well, Pixar's Turning Red, and especially Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And here's the thing, I'd say it's gonna be a big tie between Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, because those two films seem to be the top, nominees. And it's going to be hard to tell who wins. It could be either one of them, because, well, both of them, because, again, they seem to be the top nominees, and they are just so fantastic with its animation and storytelling. Jeez. But, we'll find out when the Oscars happen, and who is nominated and wins Best Animated Feature. Well, guys, that pretty much is gonna do it right there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video that I did. Well, guys, that about is gonna do it. Well, guys, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Well, guys, that's pretty much gonna do it right there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me giving my thoughts and talking about last year's animation content, animated films, etc. I tried my very best with this video. As I said, I thought I'd do a little change of pace and give you guys a little treat, on these type of videos that I do. And again, I hope you enjoyed. And let me know what your thoughts are on, and what I had to say, and if you enjoyed any of last year's animated films, and if you're anxious for who could possibly be nominated and win Best Animated Feature. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, and peace out.